All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It's very nice to be with you in this virtual platform today. My name's Griffin. I'm one of our senior assistant directors on the Board of Admissions at BU. Today, we're just taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule to help you learn a little bit more about Boston University. What is it like to be a young person studying, a whole variety of different academic pursuits? How would you engage with your professor, learning both inside and outside the classroom? Talking about what is it like living in the city itself. Really, we can talk about all of that. Additionally, we can talk about the admissions process. I'm on the Board of Admissions, so hopefully some of my experiences could be relevant and helpful for you all as you're looking not just for which colleges you might want to apply to, but better understanding what do folks like myself on the Board of Admissions really consider as we evaluate applicants each year for first-year admission. At any point, feel free share out those questions. I think the more questions that you might ask, the more informative this might be. And hopefully it's not just boring where it's just me talking for 20 or 30 minutes. That won't be too much fun. I'll give a quick overview of some of the academics at BU, and then I think that'd be a good point to pause and see what questions might pop up. And really, we can go in any direction whatsoever. I'm very happy to chat with whatever you might be interested in. So starting off, big picture for Boston University. We are a research university. At Boston University, our students are coming from all 50 states, so over 100 different countries. About 25% of our students are international. There's a very global feel to our campus. We're a medium-large university. You can find larger, you can certainly find smaller, with about 16,000 undergraduates. Students are coming to study everything from archaeology to zebrafish. There's 10 divisions within the university, so these are the schools and colleges. As a student, you're going to be in at least one of these 10 schools and colleges doing your major, but you can complete courses across all of them. So say you're in our College of Engineering, you're studying biomedical engineering, but you want to take a business course, you absolutely can do so. We have a very flexible curriculum that we've built out at BU. So as a student, if you want to explore, our curriculum is built just for that. As a student, you're going to find a small classroom environment. Our average class size is 27 students, 10-to-1 student-to-faculty ratio. These are just bits of information to let you know that you're going to be able to connect with your professors and with your classmates, which we think is equally as important. There's no one set list of classes that a student would take at BU, so you're not going to have to wait a full year or 2 years before you take the classes you're really excited about. You'll take your classes toward your major as early as your first semester. Our general education curriculum at BU is called the Hub. The Hub, 6 areas of competencies that we want all students to have regardless of majors. So whether you're studying chemistry or theater, we want you to be a global citizen. We want you to know how to understand numbers, how to analyze art or history. And you can satisfy these requirements both inside and outside of your major. We like to think that provides students a lot of flexibility in how they select their courses. As a student, you can take classes in your major. If you want a minor, you can do that in any school or college. A double major is very easy to complete if it's in the same school or college. Many of your course requirements would overlap. A dual degree, this is where you're earning 2 separate bachelors within your 4 years at BU. This is the most complicated route, but it's still feasible to complete in 4 years. Maybe 100 to 200 students would earn a dual degree each year. All of these extra steps for a minor, a major, double major, or dual degree, you would complete this once you're on our campus at BU working with your academic advisor. When you are applying to BU, so if you're a current senior in high school and you're looking to start off at BU next year, on your application, you can indicate the major you're most interested in studying, so you could apply directly for that major. You could start off undeclared. Undeclared, you'll have your first 2 years to explore, lots of wiggle room, you can figure out what's going to work best for you. At any point in those 2 years, you can declare your major. So it could be the second week that you're on our campus, you know what you want to study, you figured it out already, or you could take all 2 years to explore and then determine what your major might be. The last option, the third option of how a student might start their education at BU is the College of General Studies, CGS, College of General Studies. It is similar to undeclared. The major difference is that it's more structured. So it will take the first 2 years to complete. After those 2 years, you transition out into any other program of study at BU for another 2 years. 4 years in total, you'll graduate on time just like everyone else. It's a cohort model, so you're with the same group of students for many of your classes. You're with the same professor from one semester to the next. That provides a sense of academic community that I think some students truly benefit from. So if you are the type of student who likes really getting to know the people around you quite quickly, this could be a good fit for you. The first year is unique for the College of General Studies in that it starts off with a gap semester in the fall. So you are not with us just yet for the fall semester. You'll join the campus for the spring. In the summer, between your first and second year, you will study abroad. You'll be in London taking BU courses with your cohort, so the same students and professors you were just with in the spring, and this will offset that gap semester in the fall. This is the earliest a student can study abroad at Boston University, and you're on our campus going forward unless you want to study abroad again. So that's the College of General Studies. The CGS, undeclared or applying directly for your major, these are the ways that you might start off your education at BU. Like I mentioned before, a small class size, average class size being 27 students, you just get to know the people around you very well. At BU, your academics go beyond the classroom. We think it's very important to take what might be theory, formula, that textbook type of knowledge, and put it into a real-world experience so that you can put it on your resume, so you can speak about it when you're applying for that first full-time job or into graduate programs. So these 3 areas of experiential education at BU: study abroad, internships, and research. This is how students can really apply what they've learned in the classroom into that real-world setting. Study abroad, we have a wealth of study abroad experience. We've been sending students overseas since the late 1800s. So we hope that we know what works at this point in time. We are currently in 20 different cities around the world. Every student can study abroad at least once and still graduate on time. It will be a BU curriculum. It will be provided through our study abroad office, so the course that you're taking are BU credits. The cost of attendance is the same, if not less, than being on our campus in Boston. You're either going to be doing coursework or an internship abroad, which I think is very exciting in that you get that opportunity to maybe gain professional experiences. You could be teaching in Ecuador, consulting for business in Shanghai. You could be working in theater in Italy. And of course, the university, we will facilitate this for you, so you don't have to worry about going to another country and then go finding those experiences on your own. That'd probably be very daunting. So if you want to study abroad, we have opportunities for you. You will graduate on time. There will be no additional cost for study abroad, the same as if you were on our campus. I mentioned internships happening overseas. Of course, in a dense urban environment like Boston, you can also study abroad. You can complete an internship. You'd be completing an internship really anywhere in the greater Boston area, 10, 15 minutes in any direction. You should be able to find that internship that you're interested in. We do about 4,000 internships every year. It's very much part of the culture at Boston University. Our students, they're global, they're engaged, I think they're quirky and fun. They're also very professional. They're very oriented on what happens after graduation. I think they recognize that professional experience of an internship. That's one way they can make it happen. You might be doing an internship for 5 hours a week, or maybe it's 35 hours a week. You'll be completing an internship while still taking classes as a full-time student. Students are truly a master at balancing their schedules, and you can see that happening with internships. Your professors, your academic advisors, Center for Career Development, these are all resources for you as a student to find your internship experiences. Just again, part of the culture of BU students, even if it's not required for their graduation, for their degree requirements, they'll still be seeking out their internships. About 90% of students do at least one internship. Half of our students do 2 or more internships before they graduate. And the last area that I'll talk about when it comes to academics before we kind of open up our conversation is about research. We are a research university at BU. Research takes all shapes and forms. It's not just test tubes and Bunsen burners. So whether it's journalism or poetry, there are opportunities to get involved in research. It's going to be quite often just part of your curriculum, but if you'd like to go beyond what you're already doing in the classroom, if you want to explore further, we have a program for you. It's called UROP. It's the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program. We set aside about $1 million of funding just for undergraduates to work one-on-one with the professor to get their own stipend, their own grant money, and then to go out and conduct that research. So you find a professor you're really excited about working with, you submit a proposal, and it's approved. You'll receive $3,000 all the way up to $5,000, and you can receive this funding multiple semesters in a row. You go out and conduct your research. You could fly to another country. You could rent out lab equipment. There's all different directions you can use this research funding. And then ideally you publish, which is an incredible opportunity as a young person that you get to get involved to this degree of research as that undergraduate. You're not competing against doctoral students or other professors for this research funding. It's exclusively for our undergraduates. About 90% of students who apply for their funding do receive it and do get to kind of conduct that independent research through Europe. So through experiences like research, through study abroad, through internships, we think we prepare our students well for life after BU, because that's really what this is all about, to create educated students who are experts in their field of study and who can find that immediate success upon graduation. So that's a lot about the academic experience at BU, but I'd be very happy to chat more, whether you want to hear about academics, student life, the admissions process, financial aid, really whatever direction you'd like this to go.
Do you guys have any questions?
So, I'm pretty sure we do. But do we have to pay?
I can't hear you. Can you come up?
Do we have to pay our own personal money to go abroad, or does the school?
Do you have to pay your own personal?
Yeah, or does the school pay for it? To go abroad?
Let me move the computer because I cannot hear. Sorry.
Okay.
Especially with a mask.
Does the school pay to go abroad or not?
Okay. Does the school pay to pay, or do they have to pay on their own to go abroad?
Sure. So when it comes to study abroad, aid and scholarship would be applied as if you were on our campus in Boston. So if you're receiving financial assistance to pay for the cost of attendance, you could apply that towards study abroad. So if you're already receiving a reduction in cost, we'll talk more about financial aid in a little bit, that would be applied to study abroad as well. So whatever it costs you to attend Boston University in Boston on our campus, you would expect the same cost for study abroad. So if you're a student who's receiving $60,000 in assistance through need-based aid, you would expect to see that also applied for study abroad as well. So we really don't want to create any barriers when it comes to study abroad opportunities. That's why we commit to making sure it's the same as if you were in Boston if you want to study abroad.
What does diversity look like on the university?
What does diversity look on campus?
Sure. So at Boston University, our students are coming from all over the world, all over the United States, all different types of backgrounds. This is for this most recent year, not the most recent year, this slide needs to be updated. Fall 2021 numbers should be coming out soon, but this is for the most recent class at Boston University. About 25% international, almost 20% first-generation students. We have a center for first-generation students that just opened up this past year called the Newbery Center, so helping first-year students kind of navigate what can be the bureaucracy, the big machine that is a university. I know that the numbers have updated a little bit. We just don't have a slide ready yet. But for African American students, that's gone from about 4% to 8% of our incoming class. For Hispanic Latino students, that number went from about 12.5 to about 16%. International students shrunk just a little bit, as did that white section. So that's by racial and ethnic kind of categories. What does diversity look like? I also think it's worth noting that academic diversity is very much part of BU. Students are not just coming to BU because it is an engineering school or an arts school or a medical school. The academic diversity at BU is really everything that you could imagine. With 10 schools and colleges, about 300 programs of study, you're going to engage in all different types of conversations and people who are going to be going off to do really amazing things that you might not even be familiar just with. And you're ideally going to be interested in something that you get to expose others to when it comes to your own interests. All right, great question so far. We can talk a little more about student life. I think that's always helpful to hear. We talked about the academic fit. I think talking about kind of the social fit is also important. At Boston University, we guarantee housing for all 4 years. So if you want to live on campus for all 4 years, you absolutely can do so. You could live in a high-rise apartment, a small historic brownstone, a very busy social atmosphere, or maybe a little bit more of a quiet residential atmosphere. There's many choices for you. With so many students living on campus, it's no surprise that they're going to want to exchange their hobbies and interests with each other. We have over 450 different clubs and organizations, musical groups, it's like 10 a cappella groups currently, different music ensembles. There's many ways to get involved in community service, after-school tutoring, assisting with our student food rescue project, where they bring back food that would become waste from different grocery stores and bring it back to food pantries and food banks in the area. There's academic groups like the Investment Club. There's cultural groups, Chinese American Student Association, Alianza Latina, Umoja, that's the Black Student Union on campus. That's a very large organization, or a very active organization on campus. There's fun, silly groups like the Grilled Cheese Eaters Association of Boston University. BU gives this group money, and they go explore the greater Boston area, finding the best tasty grilled cheeses. So there's lots of ways to get involved. We have 24 Division I programs for athletics, for sports. Division I, very competitive. Hockey, it's a point of pride for BU. Both women's and men's teams are usually top 10 in the U.S. every year. We also have 40 club and intramural programs. That's how most students will get involved, because it's less competitive, less time commitment, great way to be social and blow off some steam. And then here's a map of our campus. So if you have not been able to visit Boston University, this is what it looks like. Everything within that white line is the university. So our campus, it is an urban campus. I think it's a special urban campus in that it's not a bunch of buildings sprinkled throughout the city. It's contiguous. So from end to end, it's all Boston University for about 1.5 miles. You can live really in any part of campus. You'll find dining halls throughout campus in your academic buildings, pretty much the whole length. It feels very big at first, but once you spend a little time around BU, it will feel very small, and you'll have a sense of identity and community. With students, staff, and faculty, there's about 40,000 Boston University affiliates, people who are all connected to BU in this one area. I think that gives you a sense of identity in place, which I think a lot of young people really seek out when they're looking for their colleges. And then you have the city of Boston all around you. There's no checking in or checking out at campus. You're part of the city already. So if you want to kayak down the Charles River, you want to go out to a concert, you want to go see the Red Sox play, 5-10 minutes in any direction, walking, biking, public transit, and you can get there quite easily. And your BU ID will get you a discount for either a reduced admission or free admission to many of the activities and venues throughout the city. Any questions about student life or living in the city of Boston?
Do they have tours or college visits?
Do you have tours or college visits coming up?
Yes, we have tours Mondays through Saturdays. You'll have to schedule online in advance if you'd like to come for an in-person information session where you hear from someone like myself, a current student, and you go out on a guided tour. If you'd like to do this independently, you are welcome to come to our campus, meet us at our reception center. There's a giant QR code that you would scan, and from there you would go out and explore campus on your own. We'll have students and staff at our admissions reception center who could talk to you as well. But I would encourage you, if you are planning on coming to campus and you want to schedule that in-person tour, schedule ahead of time, just because we've been kind of at capacity with reservations for weeks on end. So just so there's no surprises, schedule ahead of time.
Do you have an open house coming up?
We don't have an in-person open house due to COVID. We have a variety of programming that's both virtual and kind of the typical information sessions and tours that we would have, just to make sure that we're not having too many people congregating from many, many places. We don't have the kind of typical open house this fall.
Thank you. Are you test optional?
We are, sure. Let's talk about the admissions process. So we are test optional. I'll talk in greater detail what does that actually mean. But I'll start with some big picture perspective. This is what the Board of Admissions, this is what we do every year as we build our class. Two parts. We are trying to find students who are first academically ready for BU. They have demonstrated by their transcript, the classes they've chosen, the grades they've received, standardized testing, letters of recommendation, that academically they are successful in their high school environment, and that will translate well to BU. They're going to be successful students at BU. I think that's our responsibility to make sure that students are going to be successful at BU. This is the first part. So we want to make sure students are going to find success in the classroom. After that, is this person going to be part of our community? Are they going to contribute? Are they going to bring different perspectives? Are they going to be active in our community? So again, letters of recommendation, your essays, activities, all of that information will let us know about who you are in your current communities and how that would impact, or how that might kind of transition into our communities at BU. High school curriculum, this is a standard U.S. curriculum that we expect to see. For mathematics, I do want to note anyone interested in business or engineering, calculus is required. Business or engineering, calculus is required. For all others, pre-calculus or statistics should be sufficient. But for business or engineering, calculus is important to have on your transcript. These are all the documents you would submit in your application to Boston University. So you have three different application types to choose from: the Common App, the Coalition App, or QuestBridge app. You choose whichever one you'd like to use. High school transcript, we're going to look at what classes have you completed in the context of your high school curriculum. So what is available, and have you taken some of the more challenging classes? We like to see students who have demonstrated that academic proficiency with those more demanding classes, whether they're honors or advanced placement, dual enrollment. It's only based off of what is available for you. Letters of recommendation, one from a counselor and one from an academic teacher. We want to hear about you and your school community from the perspective of others, and this is a great way we can do so. Standardized testing, so we are test optional. This past year for our admitted class, 40% of them did not submit tests. So 40% of the admitted class went test optional. There are no additional requirements. There's no penalty. It's not a trick. If standardized testing is just not your strong suit, that's fine. We'll focus on the other areas of your application. So I really want to stress, if you are a great test taker and you feel like it adds to your application, absolutely share that with us. If you feel like it does not add to your application, don't feel pressured to submit standardized testing. Anyone who is interested in our arts programs in the College of Fine Arts, so for theater, music, or visual arts, there is either an audition or a portfolio requirement. This is our profile from this past year. These are averages and ranges for admitted students. These are not requirements. These are not minimums. These are not standards. These are just the averages, the ranges for this past year. I think this information can be helpful as you are kind of considering yourself how competitive you might be as an applicant for Boston University. And we talked about kind of who our students were a little bit, and these are the ways that you could apply to BU. We offer early decision and regular decision. The early decision option, that's the commitment option. That's where, if admitted, you're expected to enroll. It is binding. It's a smaller applicant pool. You hear back sooner. You know that you're very, very interested in BU, because if you apply early decision, we know that if admitted, you'll be enrolling at BU. So there's definitely a benefit to applying early decision if it feels like the right fit for you. However you choose to apply, the CSS profile and FAFSA are required for need-based aid whichever deadline you choose from. So you want to make sure when you're applying to BU, if you'd like to be considered for need-based aid, submit both CSS profile and FAFSA on time. We meet 100% of demonstrated need, so full need is met through need-based aid for first-year students, and that stays with you for all 4 years. It can only increase if the cost of attendance increases or financial situations change and you need more aid. Most of our budget goes towards need-based aid. That's simply, what does this student need in order to attend? So if a student is admitted to Boston University, they can expect to have their full need met. This is applicable for U.S. citizens, green card holders, and U.S. permanent residents. Everyone is eligible for merit scholarship. You can see about 8% of our budget goes towards merit scholarship. The reason being, we can allocate greater financial support to more students through need-based aid. So that's how we kind of chose this model. But for merit scholarship, there are two awards, the presidential and the trustee. I'll go back one slide because the deadline to be eligible is December 1st. So if you submit your Common App, Coalition, or QuestBridge app before December 1st, you're automatically considered for the presidential scholarship. That's a $25,000 award. No additional steps. Just submit your application, whether it's early decision or regular decision, before December 1st, considered for that award. The Trustee Scholarship, that's full tuition and fees. There is an additional essay, and again, same deadline, December 1st. Most students are going to be receiving that support through need-based aid. So need-based aid, what does a student need in order to attend, as assessed by the PSS profile and FAFSA? It greatly can reduce the cost of attendance for a private university. Not just for VU, but any college or institution you're interested in. Go on their financial aid website. There should be a tool called the net price calculator. The net price calculator should be able to give you an estimate of what you can receive with need-based aid. So we talk a lot about the academic fit, the social fit, but I also think the financial aid fit is just as important as you're considering, where might you, best end up when it comes to your own college search process. So the more information you have, hopefully the more empowered you can be in this decision-making process as you go forward. Are there any questions about kind of the technical information about financial aid or the application process? I know it's not always the most exciting, but I do think it is very important.
Any questions?
What's the acceptance rate?
What's the acceptance rate? Oh, you heard that.
I did.
All right, go ahead.
The acceptance rate for this past year was about 18%, 18%. So we are in the category of selective universities.
What GPA do you guys accept?
What's the GPA for acceptance?
What's the GPA for acceptance?
So we don't have a specific cutoff. The average admitted student, the range of admitted students scored between a 3.7 and a 4.0 on an unweighted scale. That's the average. That means there's students who are scoring above that range and students who are scoring below that range. There's no single data point that makes the decision, whether affirmative or negative, so being admitted or being not admitted to Boston University. So it's really trying to just understand the whole person as an applicant. What are their strongest areas, and how can we best understand them when it comes to their academic success in their high school and how that would translate to you, and then that community aspect as well. But there's no specific cutoffs for any one area, whether it's your course selection or your GPA or standardized academic, which is optional.
If they have a nursing program, is the GPA
Do you have a nursing program?
At Boston University, that's one of the few programs we do not have. Students are interested in going into medical sciences. It's usually going to be physical therapy, occupational therapy, dental medicine, veterinary medicine, physician's assistant, MD, so just your typical physician. Those are the programs that students typically end up in if they're attending PU. So if you're looking for a potential pathway, there's certainly pathways, but it's not going to be the most direct. So if, a direct program into a nursing program is what you're interested in, maybe it's not the best fit. And that's okay, because it's what you're interested in. It's your college search process.
Did that answer your question or no? Okay. Thank you. What would you say, what is a strong application?
Absolutely. So students who can demonstrate that they've been successful in high school in an academic setting, first and foremost, is going to be important. But we'll still have a lot of applicants who kind of by course selection or GPA or testing where we're thinking, yeah, I think they would do well at BU in the classroom. At that point, it's who can show us that they have interest, that they're engaged in the world, who can show us that they know Boston University. There's one supplemental essay that you'll be required to submit. Why are you interested in BU? It's 250 words at maximum, so it's very short. If you can be specific, you can name a professor or a study abroad program you're interested in. If you can find a specific area of Boston University that excites you, that's one great way you can separate yourself from the other thousands of applications we receive. So we're looking for students who are curious, who are globally minded, who engage in their communities. There's all sorts of ways for you to highlight this. I think with your own interests presented in your activities, with your genuine thoughts shared in your essays, making sure the letters of recommendation that folks are writing for you, that you take a little bit of time, that you share yourself with them prior to them writing those letters. So you can't ask the day before that application submission is due, making sure you give them a little bit of a heads up of, these are the areas I'm really excited about, here's some areas I'd like to grow, and those can turn into some very strong letters of recommendation.
What's the ratio in the classroom?
What's the ratio in a classroom?
Of students to what in particular? What ratio?
Student and professor, like what's the size in your class, right?
Yeah.
Our average class size is 27 students. The majority of our classes are usually under 20 students. So it gets quite small after sophomore year, I would say.
Can freshmen bring in their car?
We do not allow first-year students to bring their car to campus. After that, you are welcome to do so, but you'll have to find or pay for parking, which will usually cost several $100s each semester. For the most part, you would not need a car as a student at Boston University, with the exception of maybe senior year, if you have an internship or a work opportunity that's further away from campus. Walking, public transportation, biking, that's how the vast majority of students will get around Boston University. And then the commuter rail will take you further out of the city if you need to. All right. Well, thank you for your questions.
Yeah,
everyone.
there's another
Really
question.
appreciate it. All right.
How many years are required for foreign language?
How many years are required for foreign language?
As a student at BU, or what we're looking for as an applicant?
Both.
Both. Okay. For applicants, we are looking for at least 2 years of foreign language completed in high school. We'd like to see 3 or more, but 2 is at minimum what we expect. At Boston University as a student, it depends on your academic program. In the College of Arts and Science, you'll need to be passing at least 4th semester of a foreign language. You could do that just by testing into Spanish 4 and completing that. Or, you're going to learn a new language and you're taking Korean 1 through 4 over the course of 4 semesters. In the Wheelock College of Education, there's no foreign language requirement. So it's going to vary based off programs at BU. Each school and college has their own set of degree requirements. I would say half of them will have a foreign language requirement.
What's the requirement for like a neuroscience major?
So requirements for the neuroscience program, so about half of your classes over the course of 4 years are going to be specific to the natural sciences and neuroscience. Half of your classes are not specific to that. I wouldn't be able to speak to explicitly what classes you'd be taking, but all this information is published online. So if you really want to get to know a Boston University program, you can look up BU neuroscience undergrad degree requirements. And it'll tell you exactly what classes you'd be taking over the course of 4 years. I think that's a great way to really understand what your academics would look like, because you can see exactly what you're going to be doing over the course of what usually is 128 credits. That's 4 years worth of education.
Is it possible to graduate within 3 years in BU?
Some students may graduate in 3.5 years. Typically, if that happened, it's because they had many external credits before they enrolled at BU. Whether it's through dual degree or advanced placement, to complete your degree sooner than 4 years without those external credits can be a bit challenging, just because you have to take about 6 classes instead of the typical 4 classes each semester.
Does BU take dual enrollment credits?
Boston University can take dual enrollment credits if they are not being applied to high school graduation. So if that dual enrollment class is also satisfying a credit for your high school graduation, we will not accept it. But if it is independent of that high school graduation requirement, yes, we can accept it. If you're uncertain about how your course credits are being applied in high school, your guidance counselors or college counselors should be able to have that conversation with you and let you know.
Did that answer your question, or you need more explanation? Okay. Any more questions?
All right. Well, thank you for your questions, everyone. All of my email address here. So that is my direct contact information. My name is Griffin. So if you want to chat with me further, your counselor should have my info, but here it is. You can also find it on our website. If you'd rather have a more interesting conversation with a current student, visit at bu.edu is your way to get in contact with a current student. Whether you're looking for a student who shares a similar academic interest, a similar background, you just want to hear more about a certain part of residential life at BU, we'll connect you with one of our current students who best meets kind of your interests, your background, whatever it might be. It might just be email to answer your questions, it might be a Zoom chat, and that's always just handled kind of between you and one of our current students. That's a great way to also learn about Boston University through the lens of a current student. I'm going to share out a registration link with your counselors, which will get passed on hopefully to you. If you did attend our event today, it just lets Boston University know when you apply that, hey, you actually interacted with BU a little bit. That's a great way to get some demonstrated interest. Just lets us know that you, as an applicant, you're interested in BU, which is great. It also would let us share some information with you as you apply, just to make sure you're following along with the application process. But these are all ways that you can stay in contact with BU and continue learning about this college search process and your own application process. All right. Well, thank you for spending some time. Thank you for these wonderful questions, and I hope you can have fun, as much fun as possible in this college search process. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. I'll part of these. Bye, everyone.